Good afternoon. Today is the 7th of July. I should have really recorded this last week, but do forgive me. And it's time for yet another not particularly interesting, very vague and probably quite boring vlog. So something that happened in the last very vague vlog we looked at was, the accident that occurred on the 27th of June, where somebody decided to run into the back of my lady wife and another car, which pushed my lady wife into a third car at some traffic lights. The Sanyong is in the process of being, estimated as whether or not it's going to be written off or not, and then we'll have to decide what to do with it. But in the meantime, as some of you know, we've got a Volkswagen T-Cross courtesy car. So it's all right, I suppose. I mean, there's a full review I've actually recorded already on it. But I just have been thinking recently about Volkswagen and their position in the market in this country. Volkswagen are by far the most dominant brand on the UK market, and they have been for a couple of years, ever since Ford started to do some weird stuff and to say, well, we don't need the Fiesta anymore, we don't need the Mondeo anymore, we don't need the Focus anymore, we don't need the Car Plus anymore, we don't need any kind of the sort of types of car they used to sell. Instead, how about an electric Capri? How about an electric Explorer? You're going to love it. And everyone's saying, well, we can buy the Puma, that's kind of similar to the Fiesta and things. And the Cougar's all right, but that stuff that you've got there, the electric stuff, the Mackie and the Explorer and the Capri, maybe we're not so keen on those. So Volkswagen, who sell like a very full range of cars here, starting Visa with the Polo, used to be the Up, that's discontinued in 2023. So the Polo, the Golf, you can still buy a Passat, although it's state only these days. And then you have a nice full complement of SUVs. You've got the T-Cross, the Taygo, the T-Roc, the Tiguan, and the Touareg. In addition to that, we've got ID2 soon, ID3, ID4, ID5. You've got loads of that kind of stuff going on as well. The ID Buzz, you could buy a caddy van if you want. So they offer a very comprehensive range of cars. And I think even the Touran's still available for sale. That car has been on sale of that generation for almost 10 years. The previous generation was on sale for even longer than that, I think. That was over 10 years they sold the first generation Touran. In fact, I sourced a Touran myself a few weeks ago for a client, and they seem to be enjoying it so far. But what is it about that brand that makes more people in this country want to buy a Volkswagen more than anything else? Well, one thing we've got to bear in mind is that the vast majority of car registrations in this country, I keep saying sales when I actually mean registrations, but I don't really like saying registrations every time, so I don't want to say sales. They're to fleets. They actually go to fleets rather than private customers. So a lot of them are just, hundreds of Golfs and Polos being registered to fleets. And the Polo and Golf often are the top 10 best-selling list, along with the T-Roc and T-Cross. And so it's just familiarity. We see them everywhere. The Golf particularly has been on sale since 1974, the Polo since 1975, the Passat since 1973. So we're just very familiar with these cars, and often back in the day, the Mach 2 Polo was a very popular car when I was growing up. In fact, we had 3 of them within sort of the immediate circle. My father had one, my uncle had one, and then our childminder had one, and she bought it off my godmother. So we were very, very much a Volkswagen type family. We had a Jetta Mark 1 in the family from 1983 to 1990, and my first car, along with my twin sister, was in 1998. Volkswagen Polo Mark III 1.4 CL. So I am familiar with some Volkswagen myself, even when it wasn't that popular, which is in the 80s, they weren't as popular as they are today. They were still popular though, when things like the Mark II Golf GTI are now very, very valuable classics indeed. I've driven plenty of them on the channel. In fact, one of the first cars I ever drove on Three Jacket Reviews was a 2018 Volkswagen Golf Mark 7.5 1.5 match, I think it was. A friend of mine owned it. And so I will source cars for clients with the Volkswagen brand. I will review Volkswagens. But I don't know, I just don't find them particularly exciting. I find them a little bit on the bland side, and I think they're a bit expensive. The T-Cross is all right. It's not the most fun car I've ever driven. It's not the most well-equipped car, the fastest. I think it looks kind of boring, but we're looking maybe at the wrong angle with the brand. We're just going to consider it like that. We've got to think about the average sort of person who buy one, and this has been evident when my lady wife, who's mainly been driving the T-Cross, I'm driving things like the Sunny and the Volvo and things. She's driving around in the T-Cross while we wait to see what's going to happen to our Sanyong. She really likes it, even though it's the least powerful engine with 5-speed gearbox. She doesn't mind. She likes all the extra safety stuff that it's got over the Tivoli. She likes the fact that the interior is a bit higher quality than the Tivoli. She likes the fact that the ride and handling is a bit better balanced than in the Tivoli. Bear in mind, Tivoli was quite a lot less expensive than one of those. Although prices have narrowed a bit in terms of the gap recently, but they were a lot less expensive. So you can't quite compare them, but they are a similar type of car. And, my cousin has an ID3. She seems to like it. But these aren't people who are really into cars. They're just ordinary people. And you've got to remember that the vast majority of people in this country don't know much about cars. They just want one that works. The Volkswagen brand is very, very strong, has been for a long time, and the perception of the quality of it is still there, even if, you kind of say, well, Volkswagen's a bit special. Well, if you're a top-selling brand in the country, then it's a bit difficult to be special because you don't really stand out in comparison with other types of car. So Volkswagen somehow have done this amazing thing where they sell more cars in this country than anyone else, and yet they have high residual values and this sort of kind of feeling of exclusivity about them, which is an amazing thing to pull off. They're even better at it with Audi, because Audi, they also sell almost as many cars as Volkswagen do, and yet they are much more expensive. So they aren't very sort of exclusive either. More exclusive would be like Seat. So what is it about them? Well, they just have this sort of familiar feeling to them. With all the switchgear in there is sort of similar, and kind of the infotainment works in the same kind of way. They offer a wide range of models. They offer a wide range of engines. But I don't necessarily think they're that reliable. They're sort of average that way. They also just don't offer as good value for money as a Seat or a Skoda, even when looking within the group itself. The Seat Arona, I think, is a better car than the T-Cross. I think it's nicer to look at and nicer to drive. But they don't sell nearly as many cars as Volkswagen do. And that's just Seat. Volkswagen just has this strong sort of presence in the mind of the British public. Of course, in Germany, they sell even more of them. But they're all over the place, big plants in South Africa, in Asia, in South America, and obviously in America. I think they're still selling the Jetta, aren't they? They're still selling that. We haven't sold a Jetta over here for quite some time, which I think is a much more interesting car from a Golf because it's rarer. But rarity doesn't equal value, and just because something is exclusive doesn't mean that people necessarily want to buy it. It's very strange like that. So we've got a range of cars that are quite good, but they've got their problems like everything else has. We've got this sort of badge equity that arguably is very strong, even stronger than Ford, and stronger than Vauxhall. And they seem to get away with selling a lot of cars to fleets and also private customers. So I don't know, again, a lot of it's perception, but maybe perception's right, I don't know. Am I just overthinking things and being cynical? I don't know. It could be. But there we are. Thank you ever so much indeed once again for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and leave a comment below. And we shall see you again soon for some more very vague and not particularly interesting music.